As a wise man once said, you don't know you're eating dog shit until someone tells you it's not chocolate. Alright, so today we're going to be talking about the current state of Valorant Ranked, and I think that quote is pretty applicable because it's probably in the worst state it's ever been in since it was launched or since beta, which I've been playing since beta. And this is both from a data statistics standpoint in terms of player count, and also just from my personal opinion and enjoyment of the game, specifically ranked mode. So in this video today, it's going to be a yap session and a complaint session, but I'm also going to give solutions to these answers. So hopefully Riot devs will see this. They probably won't, but who cares? I just want to complain today. Well, you might be asking, who is this Boomshlang fellow, and why is he yapping so much? And I'll be honest with you, I'm not a Cloud9, TENS, Demon 7 pro player. I don't have 600,000 hours in Valorant, but I do have probably 4,000 hours in this game. And I'm not awful, though some people would say I'm awful, but so this is what is this? Episode 1, Act 1, Diamond 1, baby. And the reason I'm showing you this is coming out of beta, and I want to show you this because I'm not some sort of ex-CS Go god tier player that just instantly jumps to Immortal 3 on his first play of this game. I'm actually someone that started in the slums of Gold 3. And granted, Gold 3 is, I would say, still pretty high for a new player to get started with a game like this. But I've been in the slums, is what I want to say. And then your boy hit an Immortal next episode because I got absolutely addicted to this game. And then, yeah, as you can see from my gun collection, I've pretty much hit Immortal every single episode or act or whatever it's called since this game started. And my highest peak, I think, was Immortal, it's one of the first early seasons. It was Immortal 3, maybe the highest rank I got was in the low 1000s. So, I mean, not Radiant, but I've played a fair share of this dog shit ass game that I know what I'm talking about. Alright, so let's get into the actual fixes, or what am I even talking about? Alright, we're bringing math in this bitch. I know this is going to scare probably 90% of the viewers away, but bear with me and let me explain this to you. Alright, so let's discuss what is broken with Valorant right now. So this video I'm going to go over technically and math-wise just what is absolutely cooked about how the game is set up. But also I think what is a big problem right now is just the absolute toxicity in ranked mode. And I will be honest, maybe this is just in high elo, in Immortal, that people have just given up on the game entirely, and no one gives one single shit about winning games. But I'm assuming if this is happening in the highest elo bracket, it's probably happening in every other single elo bracket. But I'm not sure. So let me know in the comments if this is the same across every single elo. But what I think is interesting is I think the toxicity is not actually coming from a toxic player base. I think it's just a natural response to what the game feels like to play and how the game rewards you for playing ranked specifically. And what I'm trying to say is, yes, there's assholes, but the game is making the assholes worse, and it's bringing new assholes to the table. It's spawning assholes out of the nicest goody two shoes players. All right, so what is broken? So I got a couple culprits here. There are MMR, the ACS calculation, and I have a specific pet peeve about match MVP Ls. So that's very obviously mathematically what's broken in my opinion. And the other thing that I'll get to a little bit later is this. This is what is broken with this game, and this needs to be fixed. Incentives. There are no incentives in this game right now. But I'll get into that a little bit later in the video. So let's start with MMR. So MMR is basically a hidden rating, which basically decides whether you rank up or not. By this I mean that whether you win or lose a game, you'll get a number of RR that's plus or minus whatever amount, and that's typically based on your MMR. And I think it's also based on your ACS. A lot of people think it's not based on your ACS, but we have stuff like this where whoever this gentleman is says ACS does not affect your rank MMR in a way, blah 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 blah. Okay, cool. But then he says yes, but having a positive KDA may increase your MMR. Okay, so basically we have no idea what this guy's even saying. So let's look at this match history of mine. This is my actual match history. This is recorded in like low Immortal 1, kind of like beginning of the season period. And now another thing I should say, interestingly, so the first time I ever hit Immortal, I think the number that was associated with my rank was maybe like 15 or 20,000. That was a low Immortal 1. I'm sure a lot of you could remember this, for those of you that were in Immortal. You'd be like, holy shit, I hit Immortal, and then you see like rank like 25,000. It's like, whoa, there's like 20,000 players in Immortal. And for reference, this season, whatever this is, like V25, when I first hit Immortal, right at the beginning of the season, because I was just grinding because I wanted to hit Immortal, I think it was like rank either like 1,000 and something or like 1,100 and something. So the player count at the start of the season has decreased by 25 times. So I'll just let you think about that on your own time. All right, so let's look at this math over here. So I highlighted like medium losses in orange, where it's like kind of close, like 10-13 loss, 10-13, 7-13, whatever, like just like a normal game loss. The red is just an absolute travesty of a game, where we had like a Chinese clove running it down mid and feeding, and then like the entire team was mute comms and we just surrendered. So I'm sure everyone's familiar with that situation. And then the opposite side, I have the wins, and the dark green is like absolute stomps of wins. 11-3, 13-2, we just obliterated the other team. And then there's like the more normal games, like this is overtime game and this is like a close game, like actual fun games. Then right over here, I have my RR gain from these games. So tell me what you notice from these RR game. And when I've brought this up to some of my friends who are also Immortal players, they basically say, you know, this is based on your MMR, and it's probably because your previous act I was not like high Immortal 3, so my MMR is screwed up, meaning like I don't really get that much for a win and I get much more for a loss. But my response to that is, who cares? Like, why is this a system? And I'll show you why this feels like so bad on the player side, that it makes you not want to play the game. Also, I might be willing to grant that this is like a correct argument, that maybe it's my fault, like I should have been a higher rank before, and because of that, it's harder for me to climb. But in that case, Riot should be very transparent about how this is even calculated, because I don't think anyone even knows how this is calculated correctly. And so even if that's right, it still sucks ass, because no one knows how this is, like what this even means. Okay, so going a little bit more into those numbers. So these two numbers here is win total and loss total. So conveniently, I included 4 wins and 4 losses. And this is just like straight up like chronological order. This is not me cherry picking wins and losses. So if you tally up all the wins, it's a total of 64 RR. If you tally up all the losses, that's a negative 89 RR. And then what I did is I just divided each of those by 4 to get the win average and the loss average. So on average, it's including like stomp wins and normal wins, I'm getting 16. And also notice, even on the absolute stomp wins, I'm getting 17 and 19. So it's not even that far off of literally almost 13-0ing a team. And then the loss average, which is mostly like pretty close games and then one shit show, it's a negative 22. Okay, interesting. So what happens when you divide 16 by 22? You get 0.73. Why is this number important? Well, what that number means is that you have to maintain a 73% win rate in low Immortal to break even on Elo. So I'll give you a couple seconds to think about that. So I have to win in my games 73% of these games to just not climb at all. Okay, so we're literally in like impossible territory right now. So what is this number? This number is the number 1 Radiant in the, well, I guess this is NA, his tracker. This is his win rate. He's sitting at a 53.7% win rate. And I understand, if you're vying for the number 1 rank Radiant, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to win games, but still, this is the number 1 player's win rate in the world, or in NA at least. So you're telling me that for me to gain 0 RR, I have to maintain a win rate that's 20% higher than the rank 1 player. Alright. So, I think this is just absolutely disgusting. And once you realize this is like what I was saying in the beginning, where you don't know you're eating dog shit until someone tells you it's not chocolate. Is if you just think about this math for like 3 seconds, you realize that there is absolutely 0 point in playing rank if you're trying to climb. At least for me personally, with my MMR, I guess. But I'm assuming this applies to many of you watching this video. So another thing to think about before we move to the next point is that this is a 5v5 game. So you are 20% of the team. And so if 20% of the team is trying to force 4 other players to maintain a win rate that is 20% above the rank 1 Radiant, I don't want to do the actual stats. I probably could if I took some time, but all I know is that is like an abysmal statistical percentage of wins. Alright, so mathematically there's no point in trying to climb, at least for my account and for many other people. Okay, alright. So let's move on to ACS. So what even is ACS, right? And then I guess they're using some like guy playing in the slums in gold as an example. Alright. So the ACS is basically the number that shows up on the scoreboard. Here's an example. So this guy's like ACS is 360. It's basically what puts you on the scoreboard, like higher or lower. If you have a really high ACS, even though they don't explicitly say it, I do think this probably affects your MMR and also RR gain quite a bit. So let's see how this weird number is calculated, right? Okay, kills based on enemies alive. So you get more ACS for earlier kills in the round. Okay, that seems pretty good. Like first bloods are pretty good, right? Multi kills. Okay, so if you get like a quadra or like an ace, then you get more points, sure. Non-damaging assists, okay. And then, I don't think they even have that in here, but there is, sorry, I missed it, damage. So like every single point of damage you deal goes up, but it puts your ACS up by that amount of damage that you get, okay. So, why is this absolutely cooked? This favors certain characters extremely heavily. And I like that they have Raze here at the top, because that is one of the most like elo boosted characters of all time. Because it's one of the few characters where the entire kit does damage, so all of that's just like fake ACS, because like every time you hit people with a nade, it does like 7 damage. That's ACS every single time. As opposed to, say for example, like a sentinel, and maybe you'll like stop a 5-man push completely, but that's not going to reflect on the scoreboard, and it does absolutely nothing for your ACS unless you somehow get like kills out of it, I guess, like sure. Basically what I'm trying to say is this entire method of calculating ACS, meaning calculating how much RR you get, meaning calculating how fast you can climb rank, is extremely skewed towards duelists and also just brain dead aggressive play. So it incentivizes trying to get first bloods. So it incentivizes brain dead peaks of spawn. It incentivizes when you're on your eco round, just running down the enemy team and trying to get an ace. And it incentivizes spamming duelists like Raze or like, you know, other characters. I think like KJ is another one. It's like a weird example of like it can like inflate your rank because she does a lot of tick damage. But yeah, it's just a bizarre system, and I'll give you an example of how maybe to fix this. Like, I don't have an exact way of fixing this right now, but just so you know, this is like a very weird way of calculating who has done the best in the lobby. Case in point, I mean, this person just played awfully anyway, but you'll never see Sages at the top of this unless you're an absolute goat and you just get like a 40 bomb. Alright. Last thing I want to talk about, what is just completely broken, MVPLs. What is this, man? So, an MVPL, I don't think they have it here. An MVPL is when you match MVP the game, so I guess that would mean you have the highest ACS in the lobby, but you lose. And then for some reason you still lose RR from that. And I get, you know, it's a team game, but I just don't see the logic in you're the best player in the game and you lose RR because of that. And I guess like people can make the argument that this would, you know, incentivize people just like farming for kills at the end of rounds, like playing excess instead of trying to win just to like pad your KD. But on the flip side, you have to admit that because there's no like incentive to try and get match MVP, as soon as a game looks like it's losable, people just do not give a shit. Because there's no reason to try anymore. If your team's down 5-0, like who gives a fuck? And that I think maybe if there was some sort of system where like if you're a team MVP or like match MVP, it would still incentivize players to actually try and win or at least do something. But yeah. I don't know if that's like a good idea or a bad idea, just something I'm throwing out there, but I think MVP, L, and RR loss on the MVP, like match MVP, is ridiculous. Alright, so we're out of the complaint stage. Let's get into the, like, what is there to fix, or like, what can we add to actually fix this problem? And I actually called this the there is nothing to do problem, because in the current state of Valorant, there is nothing to do. If you honestly think about just Valorant as a game, when you compare it to many other shooters, there is almost zero incentivization to play the game besides just your rank, I guess. And that is like extremely toxic. It, I think, is the main reason why people in ranked are so toxic, because there is honestly like nothing to get out of the game except for the win. So that's why you'll see people just like crashing out as soon as you lose round 1, and those type of things, because there's just, yeah, like there's no point in playing the game besides to win or like get the RR. So you're saying, all right, what do we need to add to the game? How do you fix this problem? And I'm surprised Valorant even has this issue, because I think League of Legends, another Riot Games game, does pretty well at this. It's just having other things in the game that would cause you to play. So for my real OGs, who knows what this is? Probably no one, to be honest. But what this is something that used to exist in Modern Warfare 2, the OG Modern Warfare 2 that came out, what, like 20 years ago? And it was basically like a banner you could show on the loading screen that showed how many kills and how many headshots you had with each gun. And believe it or not, back then there was no ranked mode in any game, but some people still think that was the golden age of gaming, which is a wild thing to actually think about. So I don't know why that doesn't exist in modern competitive shooters. Like even in CSGO, there are other incentives. Like a lot of people get really heavily into the skin markets, and that is a reason for people to kind of just keep active within the game. But that's not the case in Valorant. There's no incentive. There's no, you know, gun camos. There's no progression. There's no statistics you can like show off to your friends. You can't like load into a game and show your headshot percentage. You can't show your KD. You can't show total kills. You can't show like your proficiency with a character. Like imagine, for example, you're like a Viper main, and you have 40,000 games on Viper, and you want to show that, and it's some sort of cool banner that like glows or whatever, and you're like a Viper god. Like that would be so cool to have, and it would give me other reasons to want to play the game besides just like fiending for the rank. Like League does a good example of that, where like each character kind of has like this XP tied to it, and you can see people that have like sunk thousands of hours into characters, and they're like specialists and all that stuff. But that's what I mean by incentives. Like I don't know if this is just like the design team doesn't know what they're doing, but I think it's just like a giant oversight and flaw to not have fun incentives to want to play the game besides ranked. So that's one huge thing that needs to change, and I think if they don't do that, this game will die, to be honest, because it doesn't have the longevity that something like CSGO has. This is the other thing. It's kind of similar. It falls into the incentive category. What I mean by roles is, I think there just needs to be some sort of differentiation between players that play different roles. I know like other games, like League for example, you actually have a role queue, so you queue into a specific role. So the League equivalent would be you queue for top lane, mid lane, ADC, support, whatever. And then Overwatch is similar. I know Overwatch is like a pretty shitty example because that game is like buried like 50 feet below the ground at this point. And I'm not necessarily arguing for a role queue, like maybe there aren't enough characters in each role for that now. But it just feels weird to me that we are still in the stages of something that I thought was outdated. League of Legends used to have the exact same queue system as Valorant, where basically when the game started, everyone would just be like, lock, I want Reyna. You know what I mean? Like that like I don't know why that's in the game. It's just so ass to deal with when you like load into any sort of Valorant ranked game or any other type of Valorant game. And you just have like 7 insta-lock duelists on your team. Like no one wants to play smokes. Like I think everyone understands what I'm saying with this. So maybe not role queue where you're like locked into a role. I think a cool way to maybe create some sort of incentive and also have role differentiation would be to have separate ranked ladders for each role. I think that could be kind of cool, where instead of just having like a general rank of everyone in the game, you can have like, you could still have the overall one, but then you have like controller rank, sentinel rank, initiator rank, duelist rank, because then that kind of, then as like a, cause I don't play duelist that much. I usually play like initiator or senti or smokes. I'm like a full player, but that would be cool for me, because then for each role that I play, I could like work on different aspects of the game, and then my reward I get from that isn't necessarily tied to the game win or loss, if that makes sense. It's like its own separate thing that is a reason for me to get better, and it makes me want to get better at other things besides just like spamming first bloods and getting triple kills. Yeah. So if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. I'd love to hear people discuss this in the comments. This is kind of just like spitballing, but I think some of these things are just so nasty to deal with. It's really like sucked the life out of the game for me to want to play it. As you see on the YouTube channel, I also have like other content with my boys. Buzty is the other owner of the channel. We make fun like shotgun montages and stuff. But it's just so like boring to play ranked just to grind for the rank. And I don't do this full time, so I'm not gonna sit there for 12 hours a day and try and grind into Radiant. And even if I had that time, I just don't think it's worth it. Like, it's just not worth the pain. It's not fun. There's so many other things you can do. If any of you guys are high elo and you're having the same issue and you just feel like the game is not fun anymore, and you feel like everyone's toxic, I highly recommend getting something like Gangster, or making your own team, finding people that actually want to like get better at the game and run strats, and getting into like the T3 scene. And I know my boy will agree that the T3 scene is probably like the most fun we've had with Valorant. Ranked, I still like ranked, but you know, it is nothing compared to T3, where you're playing like 5 stacks that have strats. It just completely changes the game. Everyone's nice. Everyone wants to win. Even if you're down 0-10, your whole team still wants to win. You can run crazy strats, run rat strats, whatever. You will never have any of that experience in ranked. Yeah, so see you guys in the next video, where I complain for 50 hours about the, I don't know, the state of the like Cuban Missile Crisis or something. Alright.